Hey there, friends and enemies. Joper here again, and today I've got a Remnant 2 weapon tier list for you guys. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with some of my rankings, so let me know in the comments down below what weapons you disagree with me on and why. I'd love to be swayed on which ones are better than I think and why. But you need to let me know why that is. And this is all personal opinion. Some of them are really good weapons that just don't fit my playstyle. So jumping right in, we've got the AS-10 Bulldog. This is the starter for the Challenger. And it's pretty solid. I think it's not so bad. It just doesn't fit what I'm trying to do in the game as much. So I don't like it as much as some other options. That's why I'm going to drop it into the B tier. And if you make a build around a close combat kind of play style, I think this can be very, very good, but I think there are better options for me and the way that I like to play. And looking at a lot of the builds out there, you just don't see it that often. Talking about builds out there and my playstyle, I haven't unlocked any of these down here. I haven't finished an Apocalypse tier clear, or I haven't done a hardcore clear either. So that's why I'm not rating those. And plus, I don't see them a lot of places online as far as people telling me how good or bad they are. So that's why I'm not really going to judge those at this point. Everything else I've either used or had friends who are using them extensively and watched gameplay and all that kind of good stuff. So then we've got the Alpha Omega. This one is fascinating to me because I want to love it. I think it is good, but it's just not really for me. And I think there are better options out there, especially as a higher end reward. I would have liked this to be a bit better personally, but I know this is one that might get some pushback. It's just not as much fun. For me personally, not as useful in different builds as some other weapons that I do prefer. Then we've got the Aphelion. This one is interesting, right? Because I think this one is really good. I just don't care for it over some other options. So I'm going to keep this one in B as well. And again, overall, I think this is a really solid weapon, one that a lot of people should be chasing. I think with the right build, it can be good. But I look at not only the right build, but also versatility. Can I just toss this on and use it regardless of what I'm doing? And that's not always the case with the Aphelion, in my personal opinion. Meanwhile, the Black Maw. This is going to be controversial. I started as a handler. I think this is my favorite weapon in the game that I can toss a mod on. And because of that, I'm rating it S tier. I think it's phenomenal. I think it is easy to use. It's just a standard AR. You can throw any mod you want on it and it can be very, very good. I know some people prefer the LMG. I don't like the LMG as much because of the reload speed, but this is why I prefer the Black Maw personally. And maybe it's just because I got comfortable with it and I used it for so long, but I do think it is viable in all kinds of different content. So that's why I prefer that and keep it so high. Then we've got the Bolt Driver. Bolt Driver is interesting to me because as much as I want to love this one, it's another one where it's just like hit or miss for me personally. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, this is really, really cool. And then sometimes when I'm playing with it, I'm just like, this one kind of is not really as much fun as I would like. And that's why I'm going to keep it right around the B tier because I think it's solid. I think it's fine. But I just wish it was a little bit better personally. And that's why it's going to drop down just a tiny bit for me. And remember, I like most of these weapons, so even if I drop something down, if your favorite is not up top, then it doesn't really matter. I think everyone's got their own personal preferences. Now we've got the Chicago Typewriter. This one is just below the Black Maw for me as far as my enjoyment. I do love the throwback to the first game. I do think this one is pretty fun. I just don't think it's as versatile as the Black Maw personally, so that's why I drop it down a little bit. And then we've got the Coach Gun. The Coach Gun is not my favorite. I'm gonna be really honest. Maybe it's because I don't really play Hunter a whole lot, but for me, I just don't care for it, and I just really wish I could do more with this than I can in the game. So that's why I'm dropping it down to a D. I think there are some people that really love this weapon, but it's just not for me personally. Then we've got the Crescent Moon. This is the best bow in the game in my opinion. I think this is an S tier weapon, one that everybody should be chasing and using if you like bows even a little bit. It is very powerful. It is very good. It is very fun, and I really, really enjoyed. Next up, we have the crossbow. Now, the crossbow is one of my least favorite starting weapons. I just think that I wish it was just, again, better. I wish it competed better with some other starting options. And Maybe it's just because I prefer full auto a little bit more than some of these single shot weapons, but that's not always the case. It just is in this instance. So that's why I'm going to drop it down just a tiny bit and say that I don't really care for the crossbow. I wish it was a little bit better. If they buffed it, I would absolutely love to use it. Maybe it's really good. Maybe in the right builds, I would love it. But for right now, it's just not really my thing. Cube gun, I think it's A. If used properly, I think this weapon is very, very good. You can have your shield up, then you can send out the cube of damage. The not having to worry about ammo was nice. I think overall, this is one that's easy to obtain fairly early on in your play. And so because of that, it makes this one of the top tier handguns in the game. If you're not chasing the MP60R or something like that early on, this one is very easy. You're going to get it on your normal path through the game, and you can use it throughout most of the game as well, which is very, very nice. And that's really one that I like, and I'm glad that it's one that's pretty easily accessible. Next up, we have the Deceit. Now, the Deceit is interesting because I think this is better than some people have been telling me, but I still don't think it's great. I think it's solid. And so this is one that, again, the single shot, the not full auto weapons, sometimes the hit registration feels wonky. If you're playing co-op, it can feel a little weird, and it's just not as forgiving. So that's why I'm dropping them down. Although high end, they can be very, very good. The double barrel. Now, this is another one that I don't mind this weapon at all. I just have so many other options that I prefer over it. I don't run it pretty much ever. And I would love to make a full-on shotgun build eventually, but the game doesn't really lean itself into that unless you really know you have the perfect setup. So that's why I'm going to drop that down just a little bit. Next up, we have the Enigma. Now, this is one that is very fascinating because, in my opinion, this is the best handgun in the game. It's fairly easy to get as well. And I would not be surprised if they actually do nerf this at some point because that's how good it is. It is clear of pretty much every other handgun in the game. And you almost never have to take it off. You can use it in boss fights. You can use it for ad clear. It's just so strong that everyone should be getting this. And it's the only reason that I dropped the Q gun down a little bit is just because the Enigma is right there and it's just simply better in many ways. Then we've got the Ford Scattergun. I'm going to be honest, I barely use this thing. I don't care for it at all. But it is one that if you like it, cool. It is a throwback kind of weapon, but it's just not for me personally. Then we've got the Hellfire. This one is going to be very interesting because I wanted to love this one so much. I think it has a lot of potential, and if you build it correctly, can be very, very good. But that being said, I just don't think this is as strong as some other options in the game, and that's why it drops down. Like when I'm comparing it to other things that I have access to, like the Enigma, like the Q gun, I just don't think it's as versatile or quite as good, so that's why it drops down. Huntmaster, again, this is kind of a theme. I'm not really a fan of these types of weapons in this game. I think I might put that one at D. I know they can be good. I just think in most situations there's not really a desire to play at super long ranges in this game. There's not really a lot of boss fights that allow you to play at that range consistently, and so that's why I don't like making builds like that because it's not fun and it's not practical in my personal opinion. Now we have the MP60R. This is the best of the non-special weapons for the handguns in my opinion, and it's one that I would tell everybody go get immediately. It is very good, very versatile. I like having an SMG there instead of a pistol. Personally, it fits my playstyle. I can throw on a ton of mods on it and it can be very good, and yeah, highly recommend. Now we're getting to the Merciless. Now this one I just recently started falling in love with. I think it's gonna be S tier for me. And I just think it's very good. I think it can be phenomenal. I think it's really solid and one that I absolutely love. But it's not going to be for everybody. If you don't like bleed builds or anything like that, you can just pair these two together and walk your way through the game, to be honest. Like, that's how good they are. So that's why it's going to go up there. Next up, we have the Meridian. This one I think is solid. I think it's fine, but it's just not one that I use that often, nor one that I would consider using over some other options. Personally, Nebula, this one is going to be A tier for me. I think acid builds are underrated. They're a lot of fun and they're very good. And so having this on, if you don't have the Enigma, Nebula is the next best thing in my opinion, as far as just like chunky, uh, special type of like tick damage. So Nightfall got a nerf, still very good, still one of the best weapons in the game. If you have its ability, if you can upgrade its mod length and all that kind of stuff, it can be absolutely insane. And again, I walked my way through my first playthrough with this weapon, and it was just amazing the entire way through. The plasma gun. Now, this one is interesting to me. Oh, plasma cutter, apologies. Because I think it's very good. It's very nice for ad clear. It's just not as good of a boss damage weapon at times. And for that reason, it drops down to A tier. Otherwise, it would be S tier. That being said, I do think it's very good. I think it's a lot of fun. It's one of the more unique feeling weapons of the game as far as like having that laser beam consistently. So that's why I like it personally. But again, not going to be everyone's thing. I think it is a very, very good weapon. Now we have the pulse rifle. I don't really mind this one. It's solid, and I would definitely use it at times. But overall, it's just pretty good, not great. Same thing with the repeater pistol. I'm going to put that right in the B tier. I think it's below the MP60R personally as far as a handgun that is a regular one. So that's why I drop it down, even though it is solid. The Royal Hunting Bow. I have Crescent Moon, so I almost never use this thing. And I think it doesn't pack the punch that it needs to in order to be a single shot weapon in that slot. So that's why I don't really care for it. The handguns are really shining today. Rune Pistol I think is pretty good as well. It's going to go right into the B tier. Another one. I really enjoy using it. There's so many options in that slot. That's why I'm a little harsher on some of them, because if I'm not going to use it over something else, what is the point? Rusty Lever Action. That one's not even on here. Or is that down here? I think that's this one right here. So I haven't used this one, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that I'm going to put it in D tier. I know that's going to be controversial, but I don't care. That's not good for me. Next up, we have the Rupture Cannon. So this is another one that as much as I like the idea behind it, I just don't care for it in practice. And so I don't really use it that often. And yeah, it's just not really for me. Rusty Repeater, I think, goes down here. I don't think it's very good. And I probably would never use it unless I absolutely had to. Sagittarius is interesting. It's right in between the two bows. I think it's right in here in the B tier. I like it. I think it's cool. It's got a unique ability, but it's just not really my jam, so I don't really use it that often. Service Pistol down here. Silverback down here. I just don't use these at all. I just never will, and they're just not for me. This crossbow, I think, is actually really good. It's one, the Sorrow, I think, is underrated for a lot of people, and I like it quite a bit. I will use it fairly often. Now we're getting into the Starshot. I actually like this one a lot, too. Because it's so competitive in that handgun slot, it's hard to kind of knock things down that I think are good because they don't shine as much as something else, and that's really why I will put them where I do. Let's keep it moving. So we've got the Sure Shot. This is another one. Don't care for. I will probably never use this unless I absolutely have to. Not a fan. And then the same thing with the Tech 22. I just don't like a lot of these, I'm not a big handgun guy if they aren't feeling good because there's so many better ones. And that's why it's going to feel harsh with a lot of these being in the D tier, but I just will never use them, will never prefer them over other options. So that's why they drop down so far. Twisted Arbalist, I think this is one of the more underrated weapons in the game. This is going to be an A tier for me. That's going to be a hot take for me personally, but I think it can be very, very good, and I would definitely try it out if you have not already because I love it. Western Classic, another one that's going to be down here, just not for me. Then we've got the Wrangler 1860. I think this one is going to be right here. It's fine, nothing too crazy, but again, not my style of weapon at all. And then we've got the Bone Saw, which is going to go up here. It's very good. If you can manage the reload, it can be phenomenal. And then this last one, this is another one that I haven't used and I don't really know much about. Overall, S tier, these weapons, all of them, I think, can carry you through the game with any number of options. A tier, very, very good, can replace some of these S tier options, and I would not have a problem with it. B tier, solid weapons, definitely usable, definitely viable with a lot of really good builds. C tier, either just completely not my thing or good but underwhelming compared to other options. And then D tier, just weapons I would never personally use unless I didn't have any other choices, because they are not my jam and because I feel like they just don't do everything that I want them to do in the game. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Again, roast me in the comments. Let me know why I'm wrong, why I'm right, all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, my name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Everyone's been kind of really helping me out lately with all the support on the channel. It's been tremendous. So make sure you're liking and subscribing, commenting, all that stuff helps with the algorithm. And yeah, I appreciate each and every one of your faces. My name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one. Catch you all later.